One of the best things that you can do to get more cinematic footage is to make sure that your settings are all right on your camera. Things just got 10 times easier with the introduction of Kino. Today we're going to take a look at what makes this app so great and how you should be using it in your videos. When it comes to filmmaking, manual is best. This gives you full control over every aspect of your image, allowing you to dial in exactly the look that you want. Now, in a perfect world, you're setting your iris, your white balance, your focus, your shutter speed, your ISO, and the frame rate. The issue is that if you're filming on your phone, setting these things is somewhat of an uphill battle. Some of them are actually impossible to set. Often you're pulling your phone out to quickly grab a shot, and by the time you've dialed in your settings, then you've missed the shot. Similarly, the phone applications tend to throw everything into auto, so you're fighting an uphill battle to even make sure your settings are all correct. My go-to application for the past few months has been the Blackmagic camera app, but the biggest struggle that I've had is exactly what I just outlined. I love having full control over my settings, but if I wasn't planning on grabbing footage and I just want to grab something on the fly, I find that I miss the shot. Plus, if I don't have my ND filter equipped, that I'm filming outside, then I'm fighting the settings even more as I compromise my shutter or my iris. I want my shutter to be 180 degrees or double my frame rate, my iris to be as shallow as possible, my white balance to match my lighting, and the ISO to be a lower number. So let's say I'm out filming on a sunny day and I don't have my ND filter. As I stated, I need to compromise some of my settings. If I set everything to the perfect setting, then I'm just going to have a giant white blob of light. Everything's going to be overexposed. Lowering the ISO isn't going to be enough, so I may need to either step down my iris or adjust my shutter. Stepping down the iris loses my shallow depth of focus, while adjusting the shutter introduces a less than ideal motion blur and gives the footage less of a film look. So needless to say, I need to make some decisions. I typically follow an order of operations when I'm trying to find the right settings. First, I adjust the ISO. If that's not enough, I adjust the iris. Finally, I adjust the shutter. Sometimes it needs to be a combination of these, but it keeps me as close to the film look as possible. The issue is, if I film in auto, then the included application, it doesn't follow this order. It just adjusts to what it thinks is best. Sometimes it's great, other times it's too far from the look that I want. Enter Kino. It's an application designed to capture footage from a filmmaker's mindset. Kino lets you manually set quite a few settings, but the area it really shines is in auto mode, weirdly enough. It includes a setting called auto motion. Essentially, it changes the exposure logic used on the phone to favor a more cinematic look. This means that you can open the app and immediately start filming, trusting that the application is going to do everything it can to retain that cinematic look. Additionally, the application has quite a few different LUTs built in. Now, what's a LUT? It basically is a way to dial in the look of your image and tell your phone how to interpret different colors. If you've got an iPhone 15, you have the advantage of using Apple Log. It essentially strips away the phone look and gives you more control over the overall look of the image. In other apps, you can use this, but you've got to load up your own LUTs. But the nice thing is this has some included, but you can also add your own. If you have one you prefer, you can load it up as long as it's a .cube format. Finally, beyond the auto mode, the application still gives you control over everything from frame rates, compression codecs, color science, where all your video clips go, and so many other things. So you've got quite a bit of control over the settings that you want. Everything is tailored towards quick access to getting cinematic footage though, so much of it is set it and then forget it. Finally, Kino has quite a few tutorials that are built into the app that are designed not just to teach you how to use the application, but also help you grow as a filmmaker. I'd recommend looking at them. So this means that you've got 3 mainline applications now available to us for filmmaking on our phones. The included application, the Blackmagic camera app, and now Kino. So how do you decide which one's right for you? The included iPhone camera application, often referred to as the stock app, is deeply integrated in your phone. It's always a swipe away, quickly accessible from your lock screen, or just a swipe in your home screen. You do have some controls over it to somewhat dial in your settings, but its largest strength is that within seconds of opening it, you're ready to get some decent footage. You really don't need to overthink it. You just open it, you frame it, and you shoot. With the addition of things like Apple Log and being able to adjust your exposure bias, you do have a tool that allows you to quickly capture footage at any moment, no matter what's happening in front of you. Now, the biggest downside is that you ultimately still have a surface level of control over your settings. So if you want to be exactly sure that everything's right where you want it, you're still left guessing if the settings are what you want. Additionally, the only way you're going to be able to capture footage at 60 frames a second in Apple Log, which is the best way to film B-roll in slow motion, is if you're using external storage. How about the Blackmagic camera app? This is the top dog in the smartphone filmmaking game. Available on both Apple and Android, the app lets you dig deep into your settings. You could spend hours fine-tuning your settings, essentially giving your phone the ability to be a handheld cinema camera. I have filmed footage on this application and easily intercut it with my Blackmagic 12K and 6K Pro without the client ever batting an eye. Plus, the ability to shoot frames at 60 frames a second and automatically slow the footage down to 24 frames per second is a huge time saver. The biggest downside is that I've already outlined. You've got to take the time to dial in your settings for this app to really shine. Prior to Kino being introduced, I actually had been working on a video where I was going to outline how you can use the Blackmagic camera app while retaining some of the advantages of automatic settings. But alas, in comes Kino. It is the perfect bridge between the two applications. The cinematic setting bias means that you can trust auto mode a little bit more, but it also means that you can essentially treat the app similarly to how I found myself using the stock application. This is only going to become better in September when iOS 18 comes out and you can change your home screen camera button to open other applications. I plan to make the home screen button open Kino and then keep swiping left on the home screen if I want to take a picture. If you don't want to wait and you're on an iPhone 15, you can set your action button to open Kino via a shortcut. Kino gets even better when you realize how easy it is to bake in your favorite LUT, either when you shoot the footage or right after. I've recently been using a LUT called the One LUT, and I have to say the look is exactly what I've been looking for. I love that I can quickly bake the look into my footage, allowing me to easily throw up it on social media without having to do any post work. Additionally, Kino lets you grab footage at 60 frames a second without needing to use an external drive. This just adds to the speed of capturing footage without needing to fiddle with settings or extra gear. Just open and shoot. Now you do need to retime the footage in post if you want it in slow motion, but that is very easily done in an editor like DaVinci Resolve or right on your phone using LumaFusion, which is something I want to dive into a little more in the future. So which app am I using now? Honestly, I'm still using all three. I find that I stick to the default stock app if I'm quickly grabbing something. Often that's just me capturing a quick shot of my dogs being cute. Not really worried about these being cinematic masterpieces, I just want to capture the moment so I can look at it later. If I'm quickly capturing footage for a project though, I'm using Kino. Meanwhile, if I'm out and about and intentionally equipped to capture video for a project, I set my settings in advance and use the Blackmagic camera app like I would with any other camera. All of these apps have a place in my workflow, and the great thing is the only difference on the back end is where the footage ends up. Kino is currently available on the iOS App Store for $19.99, though it was recently on sale for $9. It's well worth it at the price of $19.99 though, as it's a great tool for capturing footage quickly. It's just another amazing tool to capture great stories on your smartphone, and it lowers the barrier to entry as it does the heavy lifting for you. Tools like this are great because it gives us even more reason to just focus on the story. Because as I always say, remember, it's not about the gear, it's about the story.